Okay, welcome. This is going to be a short summary of theories of the family for the Year 1 topic. Now, as an overview of theory of the family, there are 6 topic areas, 6 key theories that we need to address. So as always, it's the same theories we're used to every time we look at theory: functionalism, Marxism, feminism, the new right, social action approaches or interactionism, and postmodernism. They're the 6 theories we're going to look at this session, and we're going to provide a short overview of each one. So functionalism is a key theory. The main thing to be aware of with functionalism is that it's a structural theory, it's macro, it's consensus. Their view is that the family is essential for society. The family has some key roles. It prepares children to fit into society through socialization processes, primary socialization. That ensures we have all the norms, all the values, so we can contribute to society, we can be involved. The family is a functional prerequisite, one of those key things for any society to survive. Like the economy, like shared norms, values, you need to have family structures in place. Every society has them, and this was kind of highlighted by Murdoch in his research. And lastly, obviously, we need to be connecting. The family has to connect with other institutions. These are the key things that are needed. And then you have this word bank of key concepts just up here. So again, all the key concepts that link to theories of the family. We will explain some of these as we progress. Overall, as the little happy face suggests, functionalism sees the family as a positive function of society. It has a positive contribution to society. So who are our key functionalists? So first of all, we have Murdoch. So Murdoch was doing his research. It's probably one of the earlier thinkers that we have, and he's doing his research in 1949. He's looking at the 4 key functions of the family, and he found this by looking at families across 250 societies. The family existed in every single one, and he said that the family has 4 key roles: provide sexual gratification or sexual regulation of the adults. Through having sex, parents reproduce, they have children. Once you have those children, you need to socialize the children into the core values of society. And there's also an economic function. Families need to provide for these children. So there's an economic role as well. We also have our friend Parsons. Now, again, Parsons is one we're familiar with. He pops up in education. And he has a slightly later approach than Murdoch. So he's coming in 1955. And he says the family has 2 essential functions. Now, he does kind of lump a few of Murdoch's together. So he says that the family provides primary socialization of children, which is mirrored in Murdoch. So there is a connection between those 2. The other difference, he talks about SOAP, which is provides a stabilization of adult personalities. It helps adults' personalities regulate. Now that's emotional well-being, that's stress release, that's helping them maintain their role in society. And there is an overlap again with Murdoch. So with the sexual function, the reproduction, this is part of the regulation of adult personalities. But Parsons highlights this as the warm bath theory. So women act as a source of stability for men. So soap goes in the warm bath, and women are the warm bath, and they de-stress men. One of the main criticisms of what Parsons brings to the table. And last but not least, we have Wilmot and Young. Now they're the more contemporary functionalists. So again, we're still talking 1970s. They're not by any standards modern, but they did recognise a change. They were the theories who talked about the march of progress, families becoming more symmetrical, joint conjugal roles, greater equality, and it recognised that, and this kind of laid the foundation of how families are structured today. Next, we have the New Right. Now, New Right again as a theory develop out of functionalism. Now, this is more political, so it is associated with the Conservative Party, it is associated with right-wing politics. They see the family as having functional benefits for society, a source of stability, and that is mirrored with functionalism. The only difference here is that New Right prefer traditional nuclear families. Traditional heterosexual families are the best way of bringing up children. This does mirror a little bit of functionalism. But part of the issue with functionalism is they're talking about traditional nuclear families because they were the main family type, and that was really all that predominantly existed. New Right talk about traditional nuclear families because that's what they prefer. Now, key thinkers of the family, we have Murray, and we have Dennis and Erdos. Now, Murray says that the growth of single-parent families, of The underclass, this has grown as a result of over-generous welfare states. This creates permissive families, and he uses the term moral decay for the underclass as a rot on society. So very critical of single-parent families, low-income families, and welfare, and generally the use of the welfare system by families as a whole. Dennis and Ernst talked about single-parent families. Their view was that single-parent families raise children who will be juvenile delinquents. 90% of families are headed by women, and in their view, they do not socialise boys properly because they lack a role model. This means boys are less likely to follow norms, values, rules, and turn to juvenile delinquency. So very critical of anything but the traditional nuclear family. Now, we come to our favourite theory, Marxism. Now, Marxism, as always, the key word we know, they dislike capitalism. Family helps capitalism. Capitalism is bad. Now, their view is that the family reproduces class inequality. So, just like education, which is reinforcing the hierarchy of the rich and the poor, the working class and the ruling class, and creating a division, the family just does this before we get to school. So, we see some of the same thinkers, some of the same ideas, and they've just changed the topic from education to family. Ultimately, the main role of the family is to raise children. These children are free workers and produce the workforce for capitalism. The family is a consumer group which buys products, which helps capitalism. And the family does support capitalism by obviously in the role of women and de-stressing men, and acts as a safe haven. It prevents revolution. So our key Marxist thinkers, we have Engels. Now Engels focused on property and passing down the property and wealth to or within a family. So the idea that the rich stay rich because they inherit wealth passed down, that prevents wealth being passed to the working classes and the proletariat. Althusser, who we saw in education, exactly the same argument. The only thing that's changed is the word education to family. The family is an ISA, an ideological state apparatus. It passes on the values of the ruling class, and we learn that through primary socialization. And then we see Zaretsky. Now, Zaretsky is our new thinker here. Interestingly, Zaretsky talks about how, again, the family has an ideological function, but his ideological function is broken into two parts. So we have the buffer zone, or the family being seen as a safe haven. The family is a place where men can come home after a stressful day at work. The women and the family de-stress them, they calm them down. He has control over the family, which he may not have in his work role. This calms the man, so he then returns to work the following day. And because he's been de-stressed, he doesn't feel angry, he doesn't take his anger out on his bosses, and doesn't cause a revolution. And you imagine all the men, all the workers going home, being calmed down by the family. It means that their anger is directed at their family, at their wives, their children, to calm them down, rather than directing their anger at the real people who cause it, which would be the ruling class, their employers. Zaretsky also talks about the power of children. Children have what he calls pester power, so that feeds into the family being a consumer group. Children pester their parents to buy them products, to buy toys, which then fuels capitalism further. So think about when you go to the shops, when you go to the tills, there's always sweets and stuff next to the till because that pester power kicks in. Can I have this? I want this, and parents are likely to buy it. Feminism, the big bad P word comes back. Patriarchy, the family is a source of patriarchy. So men control women, women are oppressed, and unless we see significant change, then the family will not change in society. Now, with this in feminism mind, this isn't like other theories where they all agree on a general set of ideas. We just need to remember that feminism is the key word here. The radicals, the liberals, the Marxists, the difference. There are different branches of feminisms. They are not homogenous. So let's break it down. So we have, first of all, we have Oakley. So Oakley says that women have a dual burden. Women are oppressed in the family because they have to do paid work and they have to do housework, and men do not pick up the slack. So quite critical of the family. Women are excluded from the workplace. They are confined to the home, and if they do enter the workplace, they have the dual burden. So women are disadvantaged. Now, Somerville was more of our liberal feminist. So Somerville suggests that we've moved towards equality. that we have more policies in place, women are entering the workplace, we have grown inequality, and that's been led by legal and political change. And hopefully, for changes to take place further, social changes need to follow through. Now, Dobash and Dobash talked about domestic violence. So again, they're on the radical side that women experience domestic violence, marriage legitimates violence against wives, reinforcing women's subordinate position in the home. So again, another radical approach looking at the family being oppressive to women. And last but not least, we have Ansley. Now, Ansley is a Marxist feminist. Now, this is interesting. She talks about how women are the takers of shit. And in the wider context is when women perform their role as housewives and mothers, they are the takers of shit, absorbing their husbands' frustrations. Now, I want to flag Ansley up very quickly because if you think about what we've just said with Marxism and Zaretsky, the buffer zone, Parsons, and women act as the warm bath, all three of these theories are saying the same thing. Essentially, men get angry and frustrated from work. They come home. The role of women is to calm the men down so they return to work and carry on their roles to provide for the family. The only thing that's changing in each case is the name. So warm bath, buffer zone, takers of shit, and who benefits. For functionalism, society benefits. For Marxism, capitalism benefits. And for Ansley, it's men and patriarchy who benefits. And then last, nearly their personal life. So personal life is social action theory in personal life is a different approach. This is a micro approach. So this is looking at how the family is unique. Everyone defines the family in their own way and does not try to provide a structural explanation of the family. Marxism, feminism, functionalism, even the New Right, they look at the family as its role in society. Social action says that everyone has a unique experience of the family and tries to explore that. The personal life approach is slightly more different. Again, even more down that unique approach. So you have a personal experience of being in a family. Your family life is unique to you. And it's all about how we understand the family from our own perspectives. Now, the key thinkers, there's a few of them here. We've got Beckett and Clark for social action. So they talk about how most parenting, most family life is a trial and error approach. That socialization is a two-way process. Parents are socializing children, teaching them to be part of the world, while at the same time, parents are learning how to be parents themselves. So again, it's that we do not have this predetermined or known approach to how to parent. It's a two-way socialization process. Parents are learning how to parent children. Clark, on the other hand, talks about the 4 types of marriage. And again, it's talking about different types of relationship, different types of marriage, the struggling, the drifting, the establishing, and the surfacing. Again, exploring how each navigates its own problems. Morgan comes under the personal life approach about family practices. So what we do in a family makes us feel part of it, whether it's we have the role of walking the dog, putting the bins out, cooking dinner once a week. Our involvement in the family, our role in the family makes us feel part of that unit. And then we have Weeks and Smart who talk about fictive relatives. So again, the idea of our family is not defined by blood, birth, marriage, as traditional thinkers like Murdoch might suggest, but actually it's about who we want. It's about families of choice. And lastly, postmodernism, again, fall into that idea of families of choice. We kind of see the idea that we can now choose who we want in our family. Families are fragmented and broken. More diversity in society has created more understandings and interpretations of family life. Key thinkers we have is Beck, who highlights that more diversity creates more risk. There's less stability, less certainty about what our family should be like, who should be in it, how it should work. Giddens is also quite interesting. He talks about how we have more choice, that we move towards pure relationships. We're no longer involved in this idea of romantic love, happily ever after. We marry someone and live with them for the rest of our lives. We move more towards confluent love. So we enter a relationship and we will remain in that relationship as long as we benefit from it. So we gain something good from the relationship. He's also moved more to about pure relationships. So people, the idea of plastic sexuality, contraceptions allow people to have more physical, intimate relationships, pure relationships, without the consequences of children. And again, relationships that meet the soul needs of the individual. And last but not least, as mentioned, Stacey. So the growth of divorce has led to divorce extended families, where families have this extended network as a result of marriage breakdown and separation. So although you are maybe divorced and separated, you still have these people in your lives, particularly when it comes to children and remaining in touch with parents. So again, it just recognises that there's been a growth of diversity.